Here's the thing nobody warns you about family travel. It's not the stress of the trip itself that wrecks you when you get back. It's coming home to the dog hair on the floor, an empty fridge, and this mountain of laundry. So now I pay a teenager neighbor to fix all of that before we get home. You know that feeling when the vacation glow lasts about 4 minutes past your front door? Yeah, I used to have that too. Turns out that the re-entry blues that I was experiencing isn't about me being salty or overwhelmed about returning home. It's about the lack of systems that I had to support it. So packing for the trip is the fun part, but nobody preps you for coming home. And that's exactly where I'm going to save you today. I'm going to show you the easiest way to use your family to help you prepare. So the one item that I never leave without and why I take 2 extra days off that have absolutely nothing to do with the relaxing piece. Hey y'all, I'm your host, Courtney Cecil, and welcome to the Life Management System, the show built for working moms who are doing all the things but still fell behind. Here we trade burnout for boundaries and survival mode for something that actually feels like life. So I am really excited about this episode. It is a solo one. It is inspired by a conversation that happened this past week inside my group coaching program, the Life Management System, where one of my coachees said, hey, you know what? I had the best time on vacation, and let me tell you, getting back has been hell. And I have all these other trips coming up the rest of the calendar year, and they all sound dreadful. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's talk about that right now. Let's figure out how to make this lighter. But I promise you, I'm going to do an entire episode on this exact topic to help you. So that's where we are. So let's start by setting the scene around like the big picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some mindset stuff that I think is really important to just call attention to. And then I'm going to get really specific on some of the things that I do that might inspire some ideas for you. So I think most especially, I hope you can just zoom out in the very biggest sense to reset your expectations about what the whole experience looks like. So, what I mean by that is travel's really hard. It takes a lot of energy out of us, but as with most of the best things in life, it's absolutely worth it. So, what I hope is that you can just be, somewhat realistic about acknowledging what the experience is and isn't. It is hard. It is going to be hard. It is going to require a lot of work, but guess what? It is also going to be worth it because that level of joy is 120% worth it. If you think about the places you get to explore, the smiles on your kids' faces, the relationships that you get to invest in, the cultures you get to experience, all of that is worth it. So I'd encourage you to just simmer a little bit on some of the expectations so that you're not zapping all of that joy. For many of us, getting ready for the trip is the fun part because our brains are working in absolute overdrive. We're thinking about the experiences we're going to have. We're thinking about the people we're going to see and high five and hug. We're thinking about this really cool new place or the things that we love about where we're going back to our happy place. Like our brain in in this process, particularly for those new places, is building all of these synapses of these preconceived notions about what the journey is going to look like, what the journey is going to feel like. And ironically, I should actually probably do a whole episode on this. Believe it or not, that's one of the best things that we can do to slow our brain way down. Because when our brain is working in that overdrive, we're and essentially anticipating those new experiences, it's then that our brain then has to work doubly hard on the back end, like fast forward to the back end, in order to reconcile those expectations with reality. So it's healthy for your brain, but it's also really healthy for your relationship with time, particularly as parents. If you have gone to my free training, you have heard this before. If not, you should sign up to get invited to the next one. I will link that in the show notes. I do it twice a year. But in the free training, I talk about something that I call the life tension continuum. So the life tension continuum essentially is the way to package our relationship as we age with time, health, and wealth. So when you're young, you have fairly prolific time and health, but no wealth. And then if you fast forward to the end of life, you have fairly material wealth and time, but declining health. But at this stage where we are right now, we tend to have fairly quality health and wealth, but we're mostly time poor. So anytime that you can call a timeout and reset your expectations and relationship with time, it really goes a long way. And that's one of the really cool things about travel, especially travel to new places, is because your brain is anticipating and then having to work more on the back end to put those pieces together. So long story to say that going on the trip isn't often what trips people up, because other than muscling through the work projects we've got to get across the finish line and of course all the packing, your excitement is probably carrying you completely. But coming back quickly into the whole, I don't know, just chaos of life can quickly pop that hermetic bubble that you've just been so safely cocooned in, where you've gotten to enjoy your company and exploring and reconnecting with yourself and taking a break from life. But when you come back really quickly into the chaos, that vacation buzz, if you're not careful, will completely pop. So I'd like to start by narrowing in on that. So if you can start by thinking about, like, when you think about coming home, more specifically, start by thinking about what some of your goals or frustrations are in coming home. And I don't mean those like lofty, I'm going to snap my fingers and Mary Poppins is going to like have everything put away, because that's not realistic, but more, how can you narrow in on a couple very specific things? Or if you've heard me talk before, I call it the MVP version of what being settled looks like. So MVP, it essentially is the minimum viable product. It is a concept that you use in technology inside corporate, and it's something that I use often with my clients. That's what I want you to channel. So I have a whole episode about how to establish an MVP version of caring for your marriage and connecting with girlfriends and being able to work out. It is one of my favorite episodes probably I've ever recorded. It is episode 91. I'm going to link that in the show notes as well. Highly encourage you to look through that to better understand this concept. But essentially, what I'm going to have you do is think about ways that you can identify the MVP of being settled when you come back from vacation. So, as an example, for me, when I come home, I want and need to have all of the dog hair off the floor. So, we have a golden retriever, we have very dark floors, and her name's Wen. I have three W's. She happens to be my third. So Wen is named after the mountain that I grew up in, Winds Peak in Tazewell, Virginia, that my family owns. But Wen is a golden retriever. She sheds a lot. I got those dark floors. We generally are not able to travel with her. We're just, the places we're going do not support that. So we have somebody that is coming to our house and just, kind of taking care of the house, but taking care of her while we're gone. But one thing that does not happen is those floors do not get vacuumed. And let me tell you what, having Wynn's hair, like those little tumbleweeds all over our dark floor, sends me into a spiral when I get back. Because like even now on a regular basis, when I'm home, I'm recording this in the morning. Y'all, I've already vacuumed twice downstairs. It is the one thing I get super neurotic about. So that's an MVP. Like the dog hair has got to go. I also need to have my dirty clothes completely out of my suitcase into the laundry basket. I don't need sunscreen smelling swimsuits, as an example, or dirty socks from working out and hiking. I don't need those stinking up my entire suitcase. They gotta go. So getting those to the laundry basket, that's an MVP. And then putting toiletries away. Like I don't want to have to be living out of my toiletry bag forever. When I get back, I want to have them in the place that I'm used to seeing them, because I know exactly what to pick and pull every night when I'm getting ready. So those are my MVPs. The rest of it, though, can sit as long as it needs to. Like there are two strands of thought here that I'm going to put out there. One is that, like, when you get home, capitalize on that momentum and go as hard and fast as possible to get everything put away. And my husband absolutely subscribes to that. And I get it. Like, I would much prefer to do that. And my sister's the same way actually too. It helps them feel more settled. So if that's you, you should do that. Like, you just run hard. I actually am, I think many of you would be surprised. I'm not like that. And there's a very calculated reason why. So I will put away, the dog hair will be lifted, the dirty clothes will be put away or like in the hamper. My toiletries are put away, but I will let a suitcase sit in my bathroom for weeks. Now, albeit it is only my problem. So when we built the house, one of Richard and I have, gosh, we just hit our 15-year wedding anniversary. That was when we moved in together. And we have literally never shared a bathroom. So when we built our house, that was one of the stipulations. Is like in the two other places we lived in Chapel Hill and the place in Charlotte, he would use the guest bath and that shower and stuff, and I would use the primary. But when we built our house inside our master bedroom, we built two proper full baths. Like, granted, they're very modest for a master bedroom of the size of our house, but I have mine and he has his. So my bathroom, my closet, all completely walled off from his. So part of it is that just honoring reality, it doesn't bother anybody else. It doesn't impact anybody else. Like, my suitcase sitting in my bathroom is my problem, but it sits there for weeks. And here is the reason I do that. In order to make the most of my time, my one of my old DRs, or actually she was a skip level, she used to say, like, Courtney, you are an absolute maximizer more than anybody I know. And I was like, I've never heard that before. I love that word. I'm very honored by that acknowledgement. And yes, so in this exact instance, like, in order to make the most of my time, I don't unpack then. I get down to business. Like, I normally come back to work and do really heavy stuff, heavy thinking stuff that I want to get out of the way so the work week feels lighter. Gosh, we got back from the beach yesterday. Guess what I did? I went straight into the pool. It was like, no, I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna continue taking off. Like, I'm not ready for vacation to end. But the reason I do that is because my highest and best use is not unpacking the suitcase at that time. It's waiting until I'm on a conference call or waiting until later that week when I have the flexibility to catch up with a girlfriend. So I always know before I go on vacation when I'm going to unpack the suitcase. I will look at my calendar and be like, oh, okay, I can work from home during this meeting, or if I don't have meetings coming up, then I will schedule a catch-in with a girlfriend or two, and I'll do all of my unpacking then. So it's a win-win. So that's my philosophy. That's not for everybody. Again, my sister and my husband would go absolutely crazy. But for me, I would much rather make the most of that free time and then double up later. Anyway, it's all about you, just a flavor, and more importantly, to make you feel less guilty if you're the same way. Like, if you also, very similar to me, let your suitcase just hang out for a while, that's fine. So again, make sure that you know what your MVP is for you. Like, one of the other things that we are very diligent about is making sure our main area is clear. So all of our kitchen islands put away, and that feels peaceful. But the suitcases are hanging out in my room. Our mud room often has a lot of bags hiding in them for a week or two until I can get to them. And it just is what it is. So for you, perhaps when you think about what your MVP looks like, aka what the one super goal you have, or the one big frustration you have when you go away on vacation, that overwhelms you, maybe it's something like meal planning. So when I think about meal planning, which is a very common problem for most people, because you got to feed your family, right? I don't want you to just say meal planning. I want you to double click on that. So, as an example, if we pull in that thread of meal planning, feeding your family, or I guess it's not meal planning specifically, it's feeding your family. So, feeding your family requires a plan. Then, when you double click on that, that's when you need groceries. Then, when you double click on that, that means you either need to order groceries or you need to go to the store. And that means either you need to know when you can make it to the store, or you need to put in an online order for delivery. So once you know that feeding your family is that one thing and you keep double clicking, that's what you develop your strategy around. And your strategy doesn't have to be something you solve for when you get back. It can be something you solve for beforehand, before you even leave, or while you're on vacation. Or, yes, it can happen when you get back, but that's probably what's going to lead to the most overwhelm. So, when I think about that example, it doesn't overwhelm me as much, but I also have it's become second nature for me to think about that in the back of my head and care for it before I even leave. So, oftentimes I will do one of three things. I will either double up on recipes earlier and have them frozen and have those to be able to pull out. I will have somebody come and cook for us, or I will online order, grocery order while I'm gone. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a bit. But the point being, figure out that one thing that most overwhelms you, that most makes you like spin into a spiral, and then continue double clicking on that to identify what you can do to serve your future self essentially, but let the rest of it go. Like narrow in on just that one thing and know the rest of it can wait. So when I think about one of the most effective strategies I have that keep me from losing my mind when I travel, it is actually not taking the entire day off. So when I think back to like right out of college, Courtney, I would, if I had 7 days of vacation, you better freaking believe I would be maximizing that vacation. So generally that vacation would be going to see family in different cities or going to see friends in different cities. And I would be gone the entire time. But now if I have 7 days off of work and that's all I can afford from a PTO perspective, I'm only going to take a 5-day trip. And that way I have a day on either side of my travel. Like the day before serves as an on ramp to prepare to leave. A lot of buttoning up final emails where people don't know that I'm online or working. It is sending away messages. It is packing. It is getting the boys ready. It's all of the stuff to prep, right? And then I have that off ramp on the back end once I'm returned from vacation. So it took me a lot of years of maturing to realize that I really needed to sandwich my fun with these buffer days, but I just can't wing it like I used to. Like Richard and I used to be able to go out and go big, and that was possible when we had less responsibility. But now we have the boys. We've got all their activities, which means we're out super late. We have much bigger career responsibilities. I have this business. Like, there's just too many moving parts for me to pack all of our stuff in all of the days that I have off. So those sandwich days really, really help a lot. So now let's transition to some of the more specific things that I do that might help you make the whole experience a little bit more in control. So the single biggest thing I do to help myself get ready, and I swear by it, is I create an SOP. Like, kid you not. And this is just such a core principle of mine. I've already talked about MVPs, MVP being another corporate principle. That was my big insight so many years ago. Is like we do all this really great stuff at work to make things optimize, and we just don't apply those to our personal life. So an SOP, such a common tool, particularly I came from manufacturing. I'm an industrial and systems engineer, started in manufacturing for a couple years. Like an SOP is everywhere, but I also now use those in my life. I use them when I host. I actually have a whole episode that I can link to on how I use SOPs as an effective tool when I host and all the things I use to make hosting easier. We do a lot of it. We live in a lake community. We have a pool. We have lots of rooms for people. So I do a lot of hosting. SOPs save me so many times, but particularly when I travel. So when I think about places that I go to frequently, for us on the East Coast, the beach always is one of them. Like we probably take, I don't know, anywhere between 3 to 5 beach trips a year. I think probably on average, probably 5. Like very blessed to do it, but we also only live 3.5 hours from the beach. So that's one. Like the beach always gets an SOP. And by the way, it's not the same SOP. So I have like my core list, And then I have the variations. It's like, oh, if we're going to Polly's Island, we need this stuff. If we are going to Sunset Beach with our friends, we need this stuff. If we are going to Deborah, where I go with the Cecil family on our annual vacation, we need this stuff. Like it does depend. So we have our standard list and then the whole list. I also have something that I use for international travel or flights. So like flights, things like air tags. Always have air tags. I always make sure they're in the suitcases. I make sure I have my plane pillow. I make sure I have my beverage. And if you don't know what a beverage is, that is absolutely something I'm going to link in the show notes. It's the best, but essentially it is a way I work when I'm on the plane. It's like a way for me to get my stuff done so I don't have to do it when I'm home. When I'm home, I want to be able to hang out with the boys and that stuff. So I do a lot of work on the plane. And the beverage, essentially, like it is what it sounds like. It is there to hold my beverages and not have it take up room on my laptop tray. So I always sit in the window and it fits right in the window. It is the coolest. Even if you don't get anything, like you're gonna have to check it out because it might make a great gift idea for your traveling buddies or the person in your family that often does use the window seat. So anyway, long story to say, I got an SOP for like when I'm taking flights. I got an SOP for when I'm traveling internationally and the things that I want there. Then, and this is the most important part, I highlight the colors of who is responsible packing. So what I mean by that is I have certain colors. It's like, oh, Courtney's responsible for the red. Richard's responsible for the blue. The kids are responsible for the yellow. Like I highlight the colors and we each own a color of what we're responsible for packing. That's so important for you, my friend, because often I know you're tuning in because you're the one carrying the load for your family. Guess what? You don't gotta. You can actually use your family to help you. So one of the ways that you do that, yes, you are taking on the load to create this SOP. That is not lost on me. I am trying to help you focus on the things you can control, and that is one of them. I can't fix your family for you, but what you can do is help yourself, help your future self. Just go ahead and create the SOP and add everybody's color coding to what they're responsible for packing. And I'm really intentional about categorizing them. I'll be like, oh, here are the outside items. Here are the beach items. Here are the food items and kitchen items. Like I do kind of break them up that way visually, but also it allows me to move from room to room and be like, okay, here I'm going to get all of our kitchen items because in a lot of the beach trips we use, we have to, like, we're renting a property and we're cooking and that sort of thing. Very different than most of that stuff doesn't even apply if I'm going to somewhere that has a hotel. So it allows me to very quickly and efficiently pack by categorizing things based on where they tend to be stored. I also always have a section on the like here the day of last minute items you need to grab. So examples are my electric toothbrush, my pillow, any medicines. When I'm going to like rent these beach houses, I often take pre-prepped meals. I'll talk about that here in a second. Any of that like last minute fridge stuff that we want to take with us, like that's the kind of thing that tends to be on the last minute list for me. And I always make sure I have that stuff written down. Now, I will say, as it relates to toiletries, because toiletries tends to be a tricky one for a lot of people. There, I have two different approaches and I use both of them. One is I have bought duplicates and I travel a lot. Like I travel a lot. I don't know if that's a word, but it is for me right now. I travel a lot. And one of the ways that it makes it easy for me is I have bought duplicates in most things. Like all of the main toiletry items like deodorant and toothpaste. I always travel with a regular toothbrush because I need a backup to my electric. Like heaven forbid I forget my electric toothbrush somewhere. I don't want to be and risk being caught without a toothbrush. So there's some things that I have duplicates of. All of my more expensive, like lotions and potions or my medicines, I of course don't. So and I also, by the way, get duplicates of chargers, like that chargers, white noise machines, that sort of stuff. It makes it so much easier. But again, not to guilt you into doing that, we travel a lot. But what I do with my toiletries is in the morning when I'm getting ready, as I use things, I set them aside and I don't put everything back. I go through my morning routine just as I ordinarily do it and put them in a completely separate place. So that way I remember to pack everything. Then on the way back, this is also extra relevant. That same toiletry bag, I do not put away until I have it replenished. Like if I use shampoo and conditioners, I got to replenish that. If I use single makeup remover pads or my retainer cleaning tablets, I got to put that back. Like I will not put the bag away until I've completely replenished everything. Because I promise you, a month from now, a couple weeks from now, when I go back to use that toiletry bag again, I will totally forget what it is that I used. So another really important part of that process. So also in the SOP, I include how you prep your house or how I prep my house, I should say. You need to figure out how you prep your house. So when I think about that, I mean things like how do we make sure that all of our Ring cameras are totally charged? Or I caught Richard, he got a wild hair a while ago and was like, I'm going to build a garden. I was like, you're absolutely not. We have such a weird yard. It's very big, very expansive, but it's really open. So a raised bed or garden in our yard would just look a mess, like not clean, an absolute mess. There's nowhere to quarantine or hide it. So I got him a water tower. Now, those are really cool. It's like gardening for dummies, but more importantly, it's something I can hide behind my bushes. So we have to make sure like the water reservoir for the tower garden is full. We need to make sure our dog is ready and all the things relative to the dog, particularly in the spring and fall. We have a dog door and a special gate that she can get in and out of in our garage. But we always make sure that we have like a Furbo camera. And if you don't have those, that's another thing I will link in the show notes. Man, I'm linking a lot of great stuff in the show notes today. But a Furbo is so cool. It's a pet cam and it follows the pet around when you access it from your phone. It follows the pet around and then you can give it treats. It's really cool. And it makes us feel a lot safer, even though we have somebody coming to watch her and she can get out, like come in and out of the doggy door. Like it just makes me feel better that I can see her and it alerts me anytime she barks and things. So like there's that list of stuff that we have and that we put on our SOP, but I don't know what it is for you. Turn the water off. That's another thing. Like turn the water off, or because we have when at home, we don't turn our water off, but we have sensors that alert us if a dishwasher breaks or a fridge breaks or that sort like and it starts leaking everywhere. That is the last thing we want to deal with. So you put all of that stuff that you need to do last minute to prep your house. And that way you write it once and you get it out of your brain. And of course, as the kids age, your SOP needs updated. Like it's not a total set and forget, but you update it once and then you either save it in Word or I don't even think granted, I do most of my work off of my personal computer. Having been in a place where I've lost my job before, never, ever, ever again will leave my life on the work computer. But I actually save my SOP in I'm sure I do have a backup copy in Word, but I save them in my calendar entry. So that way I can very easily pull up the calendar entry from my computer. My husband can do the same. I also print it off for him because I don't trust that he will continue to go back to things. But when we print it off, it allows him to, knowing what his color is, he'll go back and he can actually mark off all the things that he's already done. And it's easier for both of us to know, like, okay, cool. Everything that we signed up to do, we've done. Going back to the colors too, I guess this is another important part. All kinds of great ideas for you. So one of the other things that I do is there are some things that are inherently his to own and pack and some things that are mine to own and pack. As an example, he's always, despite the fact we have an extended SUV, we still, when we go to the beach, like with the boogie boards and chairs and stuff, we end up putting a Kanga pouch on the roof. Like that's one he's going to own, just hoisting things up above head and that sort of thing. There's some things that I'm going to own because they're more detail oriented. If there are things that neither of us specifically own, it's more like all hands on deck. I put those just in black, and there are a decent amount of those. And that's because sometimes my work's crazy when we're leaving. Sometimes his work's crazy when we're leaving. So if it's something both of us can do because we have that printed copy, like I just have that in black and that is like first come, first serve. Whoever is able to care for it, like you do it. Okay, so The other thing on this SOP that I always am intentional about including is meals. So, as an example, when we go on this beach trip, there are two beach trips specifically we go to where they happen every year. We go once with my in-laws and once with my entire Cecil family. It's a 70-year tradition, probably over 70, 74. I don't know, as old as my uncle is. Anytime we go in that, where it's the same conditions every time. So those meals that we have are like set and forget ideas. So as an example, I have a casserole or a soup or something that I will have prepared and doubled up on and frozen beforehand that I know are crowd favorites. I know they take almost no time to prepare once we're down there. And it's something that like because they're crowd favorites, it's just easy. So spaghetti sauces, like homemade spaghetti sauces, a casserole, that sort of thing. So good. So I have all of those by day written out. Like the first day we arrive, I always do a picnic, honestly. I do Chick-fil-A nuggets. We will eat them cold. I have pre-cut up peppers and cherries and things like that and a ring pop. Ring pops are amazing. They're the best tools ever to keep kids entertained for a long time. I talk about ring pops a lot. It is like my ultimate mom hack. But I will pack like the picnic is always consistent, and then I'll have like a pizza day, and then I'll have like my mom is responsible for this day, and we're responsible for these 2 days, and they're what we'll bring. Like I have all of that figured out. We always go out to the same restaurant every time. Like that stuff's already also documented in the SOP. Once again, like I decide once and I'm done. I don't ever have to think about that again. Then, okay, let's transition to packing. So packing, my boys are thankfully old enough that they're like now I'm teaching them to pack on their own, which is really cool. That of course always wasn't the case. They just started, they're 9 and 10. I just started letting them do that. And I make them lay out all their what they want to pack. And then I go back and double check. And I'm like, no, no, that's not fancy enough. Or like, hey, where are your pajamas? We're not running around in our underwear at night while we're hanging out with other people. Like, that kind of thing. But for many, many years, I packed for three. Apparently, for 10 years, I packed for three. And I would always, and I still do this with them, I do this with myself. I pack my clothes in the order I intend to use them. So I think through those days, like going back to the meals, like I know that Wednesday, as an example, is always the day we try to go and eat out. So like the nice outfit that we're wearing will be on Wednesday. On Tuesday, we're doing in-home hibachi. Like we're doing a luau theme. Like the luau theme clothes need to be on Tuesday. The day before that, we are doing or going over to my aunt's. The day before that, we are picnicking on the beach. So I lay it all out based on those meals and that schedule. And that way when we get there, we just grab what's on top and then grab what's on top and grab what's on top. The other thing I do is I take a picture before we pack it all away. So I'll lay all the outfits out, then I'll take a picture of what all I'm packing. And that way, when I'm there, if I need to change and need to, think on my feet because the weather changes or something, I know exactly what I have without having to dig through everything. And if you're not a fan of packing cubes, I will also in the show notes include my favorite packing cubes. Big fan, changed my life. These are compression ones. Again, changed my life. It's dramatic. I travel a lot, you guys. One of my other girlfriends who follows me, if you don't follow me on Instagram, please do at Working Moms Movement. You will see I have a mom hack there every week. If you have a mom hack that you use, I would love to hear about it. Even if I don't if you're open to being featured, I would love to feature you. If not, no pressure. But I love this stuff because it allows me to pass on the fun for others. But my girlfriend Katie, I featured her on a mom hack, and she has invested in a hanging bag, like shoe hanging bags, and she stuffs all of her boys' clothes inside those hanging bags. So it's like the outfit and then the socks and the underwear, and she does it in order. So that way every day they get to dress themselves and she doesn't have to do it. It's like she puts it all there and then she hangs it up and then they get to be responsible the whole day. What I love about that, one, it teaches them independence, but two, it separates the clean clothes for the dirty. Because that's the thing that kids are just absolute animals about. Like they'll wrinkle all the things. All of a sudden, all these perfectly folded clothes are all over and you don't know what's clean and what's not. So that approach is very helpful in making sure that the clean clothes stay clean and the dirty clothes are in a completely different place. Okay, so another packing strategy that I use is creating an arrival bag for the entire family, particularly if you fly. Again, if you fly, please put air tags in your suitcase. That way you can track them and you know exactly where it is at any point in time. But we go to St. John every other year. I definitely do this on that trip because we're always having to check bags. I guess that might be the only time I really do it. Because no, it's not true. When we go to the beach, I still like, I know where everybody's swimsuits are and a change of clothes and toothbrush and snacks. Like all of that is in one place. And I normally just do one bag for the entire family, but it allows us when we get there to just like go play and then worry about the unpacking later. Um, I also, this is like a little tangent, but pack an extension cord. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I pack an extension cord everywhere I go because it's just amazing how many places that you think you don't need those and they end up coming in handy. Okay, so going back and transitioning to the return then. So please, 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 once again, think about your biggest goal or frustration, create the MVP of that, and just narrow in on that. But I'm going to share the foundational things that I do to help me. So the number one thing I do it's the easiest, is that there is a dirty clothes bag. And I mean like plastic grocery bag is what I use. It is nothing fancy, but I use a plastic grocery bag to put all of my dirty clothes in for the week. So that way, when I get back, the only thing I have to do is remove that bag and drop it into the laundry basket. So that is a non-negotiable. The dirty socks got to go. The like sunscreen smelling clothes got to go. So that gets deposited. The second thing I do, and this is somewhat from a place of privilege, but I don't want you to think about it that way. I want you to hear how accessible this can be for you. I pay someone to prep the house for when I return. And when I say I pay someone, if you've been tuning in for a while, you know I'm a big believer in a house manager. I'm a bigger believer in having a house manager than a cleaner, which is where most people start with their outsourcing. Nope, nope, nope. Always will recommend a house manager first. If you don't have one, pay a teenage neighbor 15 bucks. I promise you, your neighbor will think that they struck gold, but $15, not to make light of it, it's still money, but $15 is a lot of ROI on you actually being able to come back sane. So what I have somebody do, and it is truly, it depends on, oftentimes my house manager takes off when I take off, and she takes her vacations then. But if it's not her, I'm going to pay the teenage neighbor myself. And I'm going to come and have them get the house ready for me when they return. So when you think about, I've already thrown fits about like the dog hair has got to go. So whoever it is, they're handling the dog hair. So that way, oh gosh, so like it's giving me PTSD just even talking about it. Like I hate coming through the door and seeing the tumbleweeds of dog hair everywhere and then knowing we're about to unload all of our clothes and our bags on top of that. And then we're going to take the dog hair throughout the house. Like that's got to be handled. And if I don't have anybody come by, it is literally the first thing I do when I walk in the house before anybody can unpack anything. So that's one thing. I have them water flowers because that's got to get done. I have them skim the pool. I have them unpack and prep groceries. So that's a huge one. I will order, and again, this is something that you don't have to do when you're on vacation. You can put in an order before you leave on vacation to have either groceries delivered or groceries picked up. I always get my groceries picked up. It just feels safer for me because I know that like, heaven forbid, somebody's late getting into my house. They're not actually, like, the cold groceries are not sitting out there, but I will have the groceries picked up, and then I will have this person soak our produce in vinegar water. I will have him or her cut our peppers and cut our strawberries to make snacking throughout the week easier. I will have him or her defrost a prep meal or meat that we can grill, something to make feeding the family completely foolproof. And like this just, it changes the game. I'm telling you, it is worth every bit of that like $15 you will pay a teenage neighbor just for an hour just to do those core few things on your MVP list. I also pay for a dog walker. I think I talked about this earlier when I talked about when, but that gives me a peace of mind when I travel too. So that way I know that when we're gone, we always have somebody that is in and around our house. She helps us bring in the mail. She drags our trash cans down on trash day. She waters our potted plants. But it really does give me a lot of peace. And it's amazing what little types of, or not quote unquote, like emergencies, that's an extreme, but like heaven forbid there's water problems or this past time, she texted me, she's like, do you want me to put the butcher box goods in the freezer? I was like, oh my gosh, yes. We had my butcher box on too frequent of a delivery cycle, and forgot to change the date. So I had all this filet mignon being delivered to my front porch. I love Butcher Box, by the way. It's another thing that I will link in the show notes. If you would like a free $179 valued box, then go ahead and email me at hello@workingmomsmovement.com and I'll send you my referral link. It's not one that I can broadly share, but if you're interested, let me know. I will send you a link for you to try. I think because I also signed up for free lifetime ground beef for every box I order, you would also get the same. My strategy with Butcher Box is I use it for fillets. I think that the chicken, like the organic chicken at the grocery store, is probably not as good, but from a cost economics perspective, it just kind of works out for me. So I only get the fillet with a box and then only get them like every other box or whatever, or every other month. But you do you. But anyway, if you want that free box it was $179 value from Butcher Box, email me. I will link my email in the show notes. So anyway, I think I'm done. I think I've exhausted all the things I do before travel, during travel, after travel to make my life easier. But it's still hard. It's still going to disrupt your routine. It's something that for me has gotten easier and easier and easier the more and more I've done it. I have also grown into like knowing what I need to control and what I need to let go of. Oh my gosh, I also have a podcast episode on that too. That is so critical. It's essentially helping you mature and help you step into growing responsibilities. So I will link that in the show notes as well. It's going to be a long show notes, but all kinds of really good stuff there. But the MVP, like knowing the MVP version, that helps. Lots and lots and lots. So that helps. The SOP will make your life so much easier. And ring pops, always ring pops. I'm a big believer of them. I think that ring pops can help you as an adult an extra peace of mind. That way you I don't know, they keep kids occupied for like an hour and you get to sit there in peace. It helps with road trips. It helps kids stay off of tablets. I don't know. I'm a big fan of ring pops. So always ring pops, pack tons of those. Anyway, this has been fun. This has been very meaty, a lot meatier than I expected when I started this, but alas, here we are. I also am going to recommend if you struggle with meal planning, knowing that that's a hard problem for many people re-entering, I'm going to link in the show notes one more thing, and that is how to make your meal planning easier. I can promise you I can get it done for you in less than 10 minutes. It will make your reentry and this big problem of reentry after vacation feel silly simple. So I'm going to link that in the show notes. But this was far meatier than I expected. I appreciate you hanging on. I hope it was helpful. But thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, friends, if nobody's told you lately, you're doing a great job. You've got this, mama. If your biggest reentry dread is what's for dinner tonight, stay close because the next episode I'm walking through will be about how to meal plan for the week in under 10 minutes. And it's going to make the solution feel silly simple. I'll see you there.